What is it like to attend my ex-girlfriend and my wedding with my wife? It's been 5 years since I broke up with my ex-girlfriend. Yet she suddenly gave me a call. Her tone was still as condescending as ever. She informed me, "George, see you at the Civil Affairs Bureau. We're getting our marriage certificate." Just as I was completely confused and baffled, a row of bullet comments, like those in a live stream, suddenly floated before my eyes. On them was written, "Spare tire tool guy. Willow has come back to have you take over as the fallback." Heh. I lowered my head and kissed my daughter on the forehead. Then shouted toward the kitchen, "Honey, my ex-girlfriend said she's going to marry me today. Do you think I should go or not?" The next second, with a crack, from the kitchen came the sound of a cleaver splitting the chopping board. Chapter 1. The wind drifted in from the balcony, carrying the sweet scent of osmanthus from downstairs. Emma climbed up along my leg, her tiny hands clutching my collar, mumbling with a slurred little voice, "Daddy, hug." Jack was squatting on the carpet, stacking building blocks. When the 7th layer tilted, he slapped it down without hesitation, glanced up at me with a blank expression, and started over from the first layer. My son is 3.5 years old, and he already thinks like a demanding client. My phone vibrated on the coffee table. Caller ID, Willow. I stared at the name for 2 seconds. It wasn't still in my phone because I forgot to delete it. 3 months ago, when I had just returned to the country, Dominic insisted on stuffing her number into my contacts, saying it might be useful in case something came up. What business would I possibly have with her? I had said at the time. Dominic had patted my shoulder, wearing the knowing look of a seasoned veteran. "Bro, women, if you don't reach out to her, she'll reach out to you." Back then, I thought he was talking nonsense. Now, I'm starting to think that nonsense was oddly prophetic. I picked up the call. "George." Her voice carried an air of confident superiority, as if she had rehearsed this call in front of a mirror 3 times beforehand. "5 days from now, we register our marriage at the Civil Affairs Bureau." My brain paused for 0.3 seconds. Then she continued, "I only have one request. Hill Manor, you once promised me a once-in-a-lifetime wedding." She paused, her tone softening just a little. "You haven't forgotten, have you?" I looked at my daughter in my arms, still chewing on my collar, then at my son on the floor, expressionless as he rebuilt his block empire from scratch. 5 years ago, my throat felt a little dry. "Didn't we break up?" A laugh came from the other end, sweet, soft, and laced with absolute certainty. "Break up? I never agreed to that. You suddenly came back to the country. Wasn't it because you heard I was getting married?" I was speechless. "I came back because of business expansion in the Asia-Pacific region." She paused, then continued, "Don't worry, the person I'm marrying has always been you." Her voice flowed on, light and casual, carrying that unmistakable tone of "everything is under control." "As for Makoto, I hope you can be a bit more generous. During the 1,800+ days you were gone, he was the one by my side. I'm sure you can be tolerant of him." As her words fell, several lines of semi-transparent glowing text appeared in the air before me, like bullet comments. "Willow's inner thoughts," he answered. He answered, as expected, the moment he heard I was getting married. He came back. "This is a done deal." Hidden info, Makoto has been pursuing her for 4 years, and she never agreed. 3 months ago, after learning George had returned, she immediately announced her wedding. Fear level, 87%, she's afraid you won't actually show up. Bullet comments, the kind no one else could see. 5 years ago, after I woke up from that car accident, I somehow gained this bizarre ability. Whenever someone was hiding their true thoughts, suppressing strong emotions, or putting on an act, this kind of semi-transparent text would float above their head, just like the bullet comments on video platforms. Only I could see them. At first, I thought I had brain damage. Later, I realized these bullet comments had never been wrong. Some revealed people's true thoughts, others displayed their emotional values. My former boss once patted my shoulder and told me to work hard. The bullet comments read, "Yuri first on next month's layoff list." A business partner smiled and said the price was negotiable. The bullet comments read, "Bottom line is 20% off, he's already prepared to go down to 25%. After 5 years, I'd gotten used to it. At this moment, the bullet comments were scrolling densely, every single one exposing her act. Chapter 2. I couldn't help it. I let out a laugh. Willow asked, "What are you laughing at?" There was a brief pause in her tone. "Nothing." I slid my thumb across the screen. "Willow, you might have gotten one thing wrong." "What?" I smiled. "I didn't come back to the country because you're getting married. Then I came back 3 months ago." I set Emma down from my lap. She wasn't happy about it, grumbling as she climbed back up again. I continued, "And I'm already married." The other end of the line went silent for 3 seconds. 3 seconds later, Willow said in shock, "What did you just say?" The bullet comments exploded too. Willow's inner thoughts, "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Dominic said he was still single." Fear level, 97%. Heart rate spiking to 120 BPM. Subconscious, he's lying. He must be lying. I said, I lowered my gaze to Emma. She had finally had enough of chewing on my collar, lifted her little face, and smiled at me, revealing 4 tiny white teeth. Not only am I married, my daughter can already call me Daddy. Daddy, Emma shouted on cue. Jack didn't even lift his head, coldly adding, Dad. On the other end of the line, Willow's breathing turned rapid and shallow. You're lying, she said with certainty. You can think that, I replied. George. I cut her off. Gotta go. My wife's finished cooking. I hung up. Right then, the kitchen door opened. Anna walked out carrying a pot of soup. A few drops of oil stained her apron, and her hair was casually pinned up at the back with a chopstick. She glanced at me and set the pot down on the table. Who was that? My ex. She let out a simple "oh," lifted the lid, scooped up a spoonful of soup, blew on it, and brought it to Emma's lips. Emma took a sip, her eyes squinting with satisfaction. What did she say? Anna asked casually. She said she wants to marry me. Her hand paused for a moment. The bullet comments floated up. Anna's inner thoughts, here we go again. Emotional state, slightly annoyed, but extremely high trust in her husband. Strong sense of security. She didn't look up, continuing to feed Emma. And what did you say? Anna asked. I told her my daughter already calls me Daddy. And then Emma cooperated and called me Daddy, and Jack cooperated and called me Dad. Anna finally looked up, the corner of her lips curving slightly. Jack said Dad, not Daddy, I added. He's learned to communicate efficiently at 3.5, just like you. She shot me a look and pushed a bowl of soup toward me. Drink. Yes, ma'am. I picked up the bowl and took a sip. Pork rib and winter melon soup, perfectly simmered. The meat was tender, and the melon melted in my mouth. 5 years ago, when I left, I thought I'd never fall for anyone again in this lifetime. Then I met Anna. She wasn't the kind of person who stunned you at first glance. The first time we met was in a supermarket in Vancouver. She was standing on tiptoe trying to reach a bag of flour on the top shelf. 3 attempts. Still out of reach. Then she turned, saw me, 6 foot tall, and without a word, pointed at the flour and said, "Help." I got it down for her. She said thanks and walked off immediately. The bullet comments read, Anna's inner thoughts, he looks decent, but he probably has a girlfriend. Don't overthink it. Right then, I thought she was interesting. Everything that followed just happened naturally. She knew I'd had a rough past relationship, but she never pressed for details. When I proposed to her, she only said one thing, George, I don't need a once-in-a-lifetime wedding. As long as you're there, that's enough. The bullet comments read, she means it. At that moment, my nose felt a little sting. What are you thinking about? Anna's voice pulled me back. I was thinking about you. She turned her face away and let out a soft scoff. So cheesy. The bullet comments read, her heart's beating faster. I smiled and continued drinking my soup. Chapter 3. My phone vibrated again. Not Willow. Dominic. Bro. His voice exploded through the speaker. Did Willow call you? What did you say? Don't tell me you agreed. I told her I'm married. I replied. I've got a daughter and a son. He froze. You told her that? Yeah. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Dominic's voice carried genuine panic. Bro, you know what Willow's like. If she finds out you're married, she'll. The bullet comments floated up. Even through a phone call, I could still see them. That was something I discovered later. When emotions are strong enough, distance doesn't matter. Dominic's inner thoughts. Crap. I told Willow he was still single. Now I'm getting screwed from both sides. I narrowed my eyes. Dominic. Yeah. Did you tell Willow I'm still single? Silence fell on the other end. 5 seconds passed. Then Dominic spoke in a weak, caught red-handed tone. Bro. I was just trying to get you two back together. You guys were so good back then. So good back then. I set down my bowl. Was it good when she was being ambiguous with Makoto? Or when she said to my face, aren't you just poor? Dominic said nothing. The bullet comments read, Dominic's inner thoughts, he holds grudges. No kidding. Of course I hold grudges. Enough, I said, taking a deep breath. Stay out of my business from now on. Bro, Dominic stammered. Bye. I hung up. Anna had already settled Emma and Jack at the dining table. Emma sat in her child's seat, kicking her legs, while Jack climbed onto his chair by himself, scooped up a spoonful of rice, and ate with full concentration. Your ex, Anna said as she picked food for Emma. Is she clingy? I sat down. Clingy is an understatement. She thinks we never broke up. Anna's chopsticks paused for a second. How did you two actually break up? She asked. I fell silent for a moment. 5 years ago, Willow and I had been together for 3 years. Her family was well off. The Liu family ran a real estate business in South City. Back then, I had just graduated and was working as a project manager in a small company, earning about $7,000 a month. Her looking down on me for being poor wasn't anything new. But what really made me leave was Makoto. Makoto was her childhood friend. They grew up together, and his family was also in business. After I got together with her, Makoto would ask her out for meals every few days, call her late at night, and post those sickeningly sweet messages that only she could see. I brought it up more than once. Her response was always the same. Makoto and I are just normal friends. Don't be so insecure. Bullet comments. Back then, I didn't have them yet, so all I could rely on were my eyes and my judgment. Until that night, I worked overtime until 11, then rushed to her apartment to bring her some late-night food. The door wasn't locked. I pushed it open. In the living room, Makoto was sitting on the couch. Her head was resting on his shoulder. The two of them were watching TV. On the coffee table sat a bottle of red wine and 2 glasses. Their reactions to seeing me were completely different. Makoto had that subtle, apologetic smile, like, "I didn't know you were coming." Willow's eyes widened. Her first sentence was, "Why are you here?" Not, "It's not what you think." Not, "Let me explain." But, "Why are you here?" Chapter 4. I set the late-night food down on the shoe cabinet by the door and turned to leave. She chased me downstairs. "George, can you stop being so petty? There's nothing going on between me and Makoto. You just think you can't compare to him, don't you? You're just poor, aren't you? If you actually had what it takes, would you be afraid someone could steal your girlfriend?" I stood under the streetlight and looked back at her. The light flickered across her face, making it shift between brightness and shadow. There was anger in her eyes, and grievance, but not a trace of guilt. In that moment, I understood everything. It was never about whether anything had happened between her and Makoto. It was that she never believed she had done anything wrong. "Let's break up," I said. She froze. "What did you just say?" I said, "Break up." "George, are you insane? Over something this trivial?" I didn't respond. I just turned and walked away. The next day, I arranged to go abroad. The day after that, I boarded a flight to Vancouver. Phone off. Number cancelled. Social media accounts wiped clean. Clean. Decisive. 5 years. I thought that chapter of my life was long over. Until today's phone call. Done thinking. Anna's voice came from across the table. I snapped back to reality and saw her resting her chin on her hand, watching me with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. "Pretty much," I said. "Then eat." "All right." Emma suddenly reached out from her child's seat and patted my arm. "Daddy not happy?" A 3.5-year-old little girl, yet more perceptive than most adults. I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. "Daddy's very happy." The bullet comments drifted by slowly. Emma's innocent intuition. Daddy's smile disappeared just now. That means a bad person must have bullied him. I almost laughed out loud. A bad person? Maybe. But that bad person was probably having a breakdown right about now. Chapter 5. At 10 the next morning, I was in a meeting at the company. The Asia-Pacific region's third-quarter revenue data flickered across the screen. Sitting opposite me, the CFO, David, adjusted his glasses and finished his report in his usual indifferent tone. The bullet comments read, David's inner thoughts: the numbers already look great, but he's definitely going to nitpick. I did nitpick a few things. David noted them down without changing his expression. The bullet comments read, as expected. After the meeting ended, my assistant pushed open the door, looking a bit conflicted. President Wang, someone is here to see you. Who? A lady. She says she's your fiancé. Everyone in the meeting room turned to look at me. Bullet comments exploded above their heads. President Wang has a fiancé. Isn't he already married? Wow. What kind of dramatic mess is this? David's inner thoughts: here we go again. Rich people really know how to play. Wait, George isn't that kind of person. I rubbed my temples. Have her wait in the reception room. Understood. As I walked out of the meeting room, I made a point of splashing some water on my face in the restroom. When I pushed open the reception room door, there was a cup of untouched tea on the coffee table. Willow sat on the sofa. 5 years. She still had the same face. Her long hair had been cut to shoulder length. Her makeup was refined. A small diamond earring hung from her earlobe, and she wore an off-white, waist-fitted dress. Her knees were together, her back straight. The moment she saw me, something flickered in her eyes, so fast that without the bullet comments, I might have missed it. The bullet comments came first. Willow's inner thoughts: he's slimmer, but even more handsome than before. Heart rate, 98 BPM. Subconscious: he looks 10 times better in a suit. 5 years ago, all he could afford was Uniqlo. That last line made the corner of my mouth twitch. George, why did it take you so? She stood up, her heels clicking twice against the tile floor. I cut her off. Willow. I didn't sit down. Leaning against the doorframe, I asked, how did you find this place? You think changing your number would make you impossible to find? She said. The bullet comments read, Dominic told her. She treated him to 3 meals. Dominic, what a great friend. In my mind, I added a black frame to his obituary photo. She stared at me. Have you thought about what I said on the phone yesterday? I have. Then, my conclusion is that you're joking. Her expression stiffened for a split second. The bullet comments exploded. She didn't expect this reaction. She thought you'd hesitate, at least soften and say, let's talk. Emotional state, anger mixed with grievance. But her pride is suppressing it. She refuses to show weakness. George, I'm not joking. Her voice lowered, her chin lifting slightly, her usual posture. Every time we argued, she did this. using an upward tilt to create the illusion of looking down on me. It's been 5 years. I waited for you for 5 years. You waited for me. I couldn't help but laugh when you were being ambiguous with Makoto. That was you waiting for me. I was never with Makoto. The bullet comments read. True, she really wasn't with Makoto. He pursued her for 4 years, and she never agreed. Chapter 6. That line of bullet comments made me fall silent for a moment. Not together. 4 years? Makoto was just keeping me company, Willow said. There was a slight tremble in her voice, but she steadied it quickly. You left without even saying a word. You canceled your number. Blocked me on everything. No one could reach you. Do you know how I got through that time? The bullet comments drifted slowly across my view. Hidden memory. After George left, she stood outside his rented apartment for 3 hours. The landlord told her he had already moved out and taken everything. She squatted in the hallway crying until a passing auntie handed her a pack of tissues. My fingers tightened slightly. Then another line appeared, but she never once thought about whether she had done anything wrong. In her mind, the fault lies with George for being too petty and too impulsive. That brief trace of bitterness in my chest was instantly suppressed. So, I took a deep breath. Your conclusion is that me leaving for 5 years is my fault. You being emotionally involved with another man is my fault. And now you coming to me to register a marriage is perfectly justified. She snapped. I was not emotionally involved with him. I asked. Then at 11 at night, with your head on his shoulder, drinking red wine together, what do you call that? Her lips pressed tightly together. The bullet comments read. She wants to say, I had too much to drink that night, but she knows that excuse doesn't hold. She wasn't drunk. Silence spread through the reception room for a few seconds. Then there was a knock on the door. My assistant appeared again with that complicated expression. President Wong, there's another visitor. He says he's Miss Lu's friend. Before I could respond, a man's voice came from down the hallway. Willow, why did you come here? Didn't we agree to come together? Makoto. He pushed the door open and walked in. 5 years hadn't changed him much. About 5 feet 10 inches. Average build. Wearing a well-tailored navy suit. A Patek Philippe watch on his wrist. Real or fake? Who knows? His hair was meticulously styled, and he wore that familiar smile I knew all too well. Gentle. Harmless. With just a hint of, I'm a good guy, branding. Bullet comments flooded above his head. Makoto's inner thoughts, finally meeting the main guy. George seems to be doing all right. This office space, at least mid-level management. Heh, nothing special. Makoto's objective, he came with Willow to show. See, she's already mine. But his real goal is to use the Lu family's connections to secure land for South City redevelopment. Makoto's true evaluation of Willow, good looks, useful family background, but high maintenance. Marrying her would mean putting her on a pedestal. Once I get the land, I can slowly cut ties. That last line made my brow twitch slightly. So that's it. Makoto pursued her for 4 years, not out of love, but for the Lu family's resources. George. Makoto extended his hand toward me, his smile perfectly composed. Long time no see. I didn't take it. His hand froze in midair. The bullet comments read. Who are you trying to impress? Back then, you weren't even worth a finger of mine. Sure, you're wearing a decent suit now, but your level hasn't changed. Makoto. I gave a slight nod as acknowledgement. What are you here for? I'm here to pick up Willow. He walked naturally to her side, resting his hand on the back of her chair, not touching her, but close enough to suggest possession. I heard you were discussing marriage registration. The bullet comments read. Willow's inner thoughts. There he goes again, showing off his presence in front of George. Annoying. But I can't drive him away now. I need George to get jealous. Chapter 7. Well, both of them had their own hidden agendas, each using the other, and neither of them realized it. No, more accurately, they both believed they were the one in control. There's nothing to talk about regarding marriage registration, I said, slipping my hands into my pockets. I'm already married. Makoto's smile froze. The bullet comments read. Damn, married. Then does Willow still have any value? Wait, if he's married and Willow gives up, will she turn around and accept me? No, the land deal is more urgent. I need to stabilize her first. This guy's thought process was spinning faster than my company's financial system. Married. Makoto looked surprised. His brows furrowed briefly before smoothing out again, forcing a congratulatory smile. Well, congratulations. When did that happen? 3 years ago. Do you have kids? Twins. 3.5. The reception room fell silent. Willow's fingers tightened around her bag strap. The bullet comments read. Willow's inner thoughts. Twins. He got married the 2nd year after he left. How could it be that fast? Did he already have someone else while we were still together? If I could respond to bullet comments, I would have typed a giant sentence above her head. Is there something wrong with your logic? Who was the one getting emotionally involved with someone else first? But I couldn't. This ability only lets me see, not reply. Makoto sighed. Willow. He turned to her, lightly touching her shoulder. The bullet comments read, deliberate comforting gesture. Acting. Looks like it was a misunderstanding. Let's go. Don't disturb him any further. Willow didn't move. She stared at me, her eyes slightly red, but she clenched her teeth, refusing to let the tears fall. George, tell me you're not lying. I'm not lying. I don't believe you. I reached over, picked up my phone from the table, tapped a few times, and turned the screen toward her. It was my phone wallpaper. This morning, before I left, Emma and Jack were sitting on the living room sofa. Emma was flashing a crooked peace sign at the camera, while Jack held a cup of milk with his usual expressionless face. Willow stared at the screen, her body going stiff. The bullet comments read, "The girl's nose looks like his. The boy's eyebrows look like his. They're his biological children. He really is married. He really has kids. Emotional breakdown in progress. Heart rate 120 BPM. Breathing irregular. Tear ducts pushed to the limit. Inner monologue. Why? Why is he living so well? I waited for him for 5 years. 5 years. And him. He got married the second year after leaving, and even had twins." Her hand trembled slightly as she stood up. Her heels clicked twice against the floor. "Let's go." Her voice was extremely low as she said it to Makoto. Makoto glanced at me. The bullet comments read, "This guy's luck is pretty good. His wife gave him twins. But judging by the office size, he's probably only making around $1 million a year at most. Not a real threat." He smiled and nodded. "We'll head out then. Let's grab a meal together sometime." "No need," I said. His smile stiffened for a moment before he took Willow's hand and left. After the door closed, I sat on the sofa for 2 minutes. My phone rang. A message from Anna. "Emma drew a picture at kindergarten today. The title is, 'My Daddy is a Big Tiger.' The teacher asked her why, and she said Daddy is very scary when he's angry." There was a photo attached. In Emma's drawing, a round, orange tiger stood among a group of small animals, its mouth wide open. I stared at the tiger, which looked more like a panda, for 5 seconds, then laughed. I replied, "Tell her Daddy is only scary to bad people." Anna replied instantly. She asked who the bad people are. I said people who don't eat vegetables. She went silent. I smiled and put my phone down. Things that need to be dealt with will come later. No rush. Chapter 8. 2 days later, Dominic treated me to a meal. The place was a barbecue stall on Old Street in South City, barely above a hole in the wall, but their grilled kidneys were unbeatable. When I arrived, Dominic was already sitting on a plastic stool. 6 bottles of beer were lined up in front of him. His eyes darted around nervously, like an elementary school kid who had done something wrong and was waiting to get scolded. The bullet comments read, "Dominic's inner thoughts. He knows." I saw his tone when he answered the call. He definitely knows I gave Willow his address. Today's meal is an apology, but I think I didn't buy enough beer. I sat down without saying a word, grabbed a bottle of beer, and popped the cap open with my teeth. Pop. Dominic's Adam's apple bobbed. He rubbed his hands together. "Bro. About Willow. I just thought, you two back then. Don't just me." He slapped the table, then immediately shrank back. The bullet comments read, "Will he hit me? Probably not. Right? We've been brothers for 15 years. 15 years can't lose to an ex-girlfriend, right? Actually, it probably can. Dominic." I took a swig of beer. "Did you give her my company address, my phone number, and my home address too?" His face turned pale, then green. The bullet comments read, "I didn't give her the home address. I still have some principles." He lowered his head, his voice barely louder than a mosquito. "The company address and phone number, yeah, I gave those. But I absolutely didn't give her your home address. Do you believe me?" The bullet comments read, "True, I do." He let out a long breath of relief. I slammed the beer bottle lightly onto the table. "But 3 meals aren't enough to make up for it. You owe me 10. He yelped. "Even this place costs over 300 per meal." I shrugged. "The trouble you caused me is worth 30 million. He shut up. The skewers arrived, lamb, kidneys, chicken wings, grilled eggplant, covering the table. The owner, a stocky man with a buzz cut, glanced at us. The bullet comments read, "These two look like they're going to drink a lot. Better bring extra peanuts." I tore off a piece of lamb and shoved it into my mouth. The chili powder exploded on my tongue. As I chewed, I said, "So, tell me, what's Willow been up to lately?" Dominic opened another bottle, took a big gulp, and wiped his mouth. "After you left, she wasn't doing too well. Not well. Yeah." His expression turned complicated. "For the first half year, she was looking for you everywhere. Your co-workers, your landlord, your college classmates, anyone she could contact. She did, but she couldn't find you. And then," the bullet comments slowly appeared above his head. "The truth Dominic knows, after searching for George for half a year and failing, Willow fell seriously ill. She was hospitalized for half a month. After she was discharged, her personality changed a lot. She stopped hanging out with friends and stopped reaching out to anyone. That's when Makoto began approaching her more frequently. I kept chewing my skewer, saying nothing. Later, Makoto kept pursuing her. Flowers, gifts, accompanying her to work late, attending social events with her. You know what Willow's like, stubborn, prideful, but she never said yes. Why? I asked. She said, Dominic scratched the back of his head. She said she was waiting for someone to come back and apologize. My chopsticks paused for a second. The bullet comments read, Dominic's judgment, she's not waiting for an apology. She's waiting for George. She's too proud to admit she was wrong. But she can't let go either. Makoto is just a substitute. No, not even that. More like a tool to prove she's still desirable. I stuffed another piece of meat into my mouth and chewed for a long time. She knows I'm married, I said. Dominic's expression grew even more complicated. She knows. After leaving your company the day before yesterday, she apparently sat in her car for 2 hours without getting out. Makoto was waiting outside, but she wouldn't open the door. The bullet comments above Dominic's head read, Makoto posted a status update at the time. The photo was Willow's car. Caption, she's too stubborn, but I'll always wait. I almost threw up. So fake, it's obviously just for show. Chapter 9. I let out a cold laugh in my mind. I had already seen Makoto's bullet comments. In his eyes, there was no Willow, only the Liu family's land. Dominic, yeah. What kind of person do you think Makoto is? He thought for a moment. A pretty calculating guy. Handles things flawlessly. And he does seem attentive to Willow, at least on the surface. But I always feel like what? I can't quite put it into words. Just a feeling. The way he treats her, it's too textbook. Like he memorized a script. I looked at him. The bullet comments read, Dominic's intuition is actually spot on. He may be unreliable sometimes, but his judgment of people has always been good. You're not wrong. I said. What do you mean? Nothing. Eat. Dominic grumbled. You're worse than Willow, starting something and not finishing it. I laughed and clinked my beer bottle against his. 10 barbecue meals, not one less. Fine. Fine. Damn you. The bullet comments read, he's relieved. His brother isn't actually mad. By the time we finished eating, it was already 9 p.m. I walked home under the streetlights, my shadow stretching long across the ground. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. George, I've already booked the wedding venue at Hill Manor. You don't have to come register the marriage, but you must come to the wedding. 3 days from now, 2 p.m. Willow. No bullet comments appeared, because it was a text, not a real-time interaction. She wasn't within range of my ability, but I didn't need the bullet comments to guess what she was thinking. She was gambling. Gambling that I'd show up out of curiosity. Gambling that I still had even the slightest attachment to her. Gambling that the moment I saw the wedding venue, I'd remember the once-in-a-lifetime wedding I promised her 5 years ago. I put my phone away. When I got home, the living room lights were on. Emma was already asleep. Jack was still in the living room, leaning against the sofa armrest, reading a picture book with the same serious expression he'd use for a financial report. Anna sat beside him, knitting something, looked like a scarf. Without looking up, she said, You're back. Been drinking. 2 bottles. Go take a shower. You smell like barbecue. Yes, ma'am. As I passed the sofa, I bent down and kissed Jack on the forehead. He frowned slightly and looked up at me. The bullet comments read, Jack's inner thoughts, Dad's breath stinks. Fair enough. When I came out of the shower, Jack had already been carried to bed by Anna. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at her phone, the screen light reflecting on her face. Anna. There's something I need to tell you. She put down her phone and looked at me. Willow booked a wedding venue at Hill Manor. Says it's 3 days from now at 2 p.m. Wants me to go. Her expression didn't change. The bullet comments slowly appeared. Anna's inner thoughts, is this woman insane? He already said he's married and she still won't give up. Calm down. Calm down. The fact that George told me means he's not hiding anything. But Hill Manor, she's serious. Are you going? She asked. What do you think? She thought for a moment. If you don't go, she'll come to us. If you do go, she'll think there's still a chance. So, she grabbed a pillow, tucked it behind her back, got comfortable, then looked at me with a faint smile. So we go together. The bullet comments read, Anna's inner thoughts, let her see what your wife looks like. I smiled. All right. She lay down contentedly and pulled the blanket over herself. Turn off the lights. Yes, boss. Chapter 10. Hill Manor sat on the outskirts of South City, covering 40 acres. Within its European-style complex were 3 banquet halls and a church. The last time I heard that name was 5 years ago. Willow had seen a photo of Hill Manor in a wedding magazine. She pointed at the white church wrapped in climbing roses and said, One day, I want to get married here. At the time, I was eating instant noodles and just nodded. She pressed, You promise? Then you'd better start saving. Booking Hill Manor for a day costs at least $500,000. $500,000. Back then, I could only save $40,000 a year, but her eyes were shining. So I said, All right, I promise. Looking back now, I was unbelievably naive. At 1:45 p.m., my car pulled into Hill Manor's parking lot. Anna sat in the passenger seat, wearing a light yellow dress. Her hair fell naturally over her shoulders, and she had on light makeup. She didn't usually bother with makeup today. She had clearly made an effort. The bullet comments above her head read, Is this dress too youthful? Whatever. It looks good. Let her see what the real deal looks like. I couldn't help but smile. She glanced at me. What are you smiling at? You look beautiful today, I said. Shut up. The tips of her ears turned slightly red. The bullet comments read. Heart rate increasing. We got out of the car. At the entrance of the manor stood a floral arch. White roses and hydrangeas clustered together, filling the air with fragrance. 2 rows of staff in black uniforms stood on either side, their expressions professional. Bullet comments drifted above them. This wedding only has guests from the bride's side. No one from the groom's side has shown up. The bride has been waiting in the church for half an hour. That man in the suit, Makoto, has been on the phone nonstop. Looks anxious. When Anna and I walked in, Makoto was standing in the garden, phone pressed to his ear, his face dark. The moment he saw me, his expression shifted, first surprise, then delight, then a complicated look that said, so you really came. The bullet comments above his head read, he came. Willow said he definitely would, and he really did. Wait, who's the woman next to him? His wife. He actually brought his wife to his ex's wedding. Is this guy insane? George. Makoto put away his phone and walked over, his gaze sweeping over Anna. The bullet comments read, Makoto's assessment, above average looks, good presence, dressed low-key, can't tell any luxury brands, doesn't look like a rich man's wife. Anna nodded at him, saying nothing. The bullet comments read, Anna's inner thoughts, so this is the backup guy, shifty looking, definitely not a good person. I silently gave my wife's judgment skills a thumbs up. Makoto said stiffly, Willow is in the church, she's waiting for you. I know. I took Anna's hand. Let's go. Makoto's gaze fell on our intertwined hands. The bullet comments above him read, is he deliberately provoking Willow? This guy's ruthless, but that works too. Once Willow sees he brought his wife, she'll probably give up completely. Then I'll be her only option left. Perfect. I almost wanted to type a sentence above his head. Nice plan, but too bad I can see everything. Chapter 11. The church doors opened. Sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the stone floor. White drapes hung on both sides, and a red carpet stretched from the entrance all the way to the altar. Willow stood there, wearing a white wedding gown. The long train spread across the floor, adorned with crystals and lace. A veil covered half her face, revealing carefully painted red lips and a pair of eyes fixed on the entrance. Bullet comments scrolled wildly above her head. Willow's inner thoughts, he's here. He really came. I knew he would. He still cares about me. Wait, who is that woman beside him? Heart rate, 130 BPM. Blood pressure rising. Pupils contracting. Inner monologue. Calm down, calm down. He said he's married, but I don't believe it. Maybe he hired her to act. Yes, that must be it. He brought a woman to provoke me. That means he cares. I sighed inwardly. Willow's ability to deceive herself, after 5 years, it hadn't weakened. If anything, it had improved. She walked down from the altar. The hem of her dress brushed against the red carpet with a soft rustling sound. She stopped in front of me, her gaze shifting between me and Anna through the veil. You came, she said quietly. She asked, and this is my wife, Anna. The church fell silent for a second. The corner of Willow's lips twitched slightly, just for a moment, but the bullet comments caught everything. Emotional tsunami, jealousy plus anger plus heartbreak plus unwillingness, all erupting at once, forcibly suppressed. Subconscious, she's shorter than me, thinner than me. Her skin isn't even as fair as mine. Why her? Why? Anna spoke at that moment. Miss Liu, hello. Her tone was calm, perfectly polite. You've put a lot of thought into this venue. Willow didn't respond. She stared at Anna for 3 seconds, then turned to me. George, I need to speak with you alone. There's nothing to talk about alone. There is. She lifted her chin again. About us. There is no us. 5 years ago, you promised me. 5 years ago. I cut her off. What I promised was that someday I'd give you a wedding at Hill Manor, but we broke up. I never agreed to break up. Willow, my tone dropped. A breakup is a statement, not a negotiation. The air in the church froze. The staff stood in the corners, barely daring to breathe. Makoto lingered by the door. The bullet comments above him read, this is getting good. Watching them tear each other apart. Willow's losing face like this. Tonight if I comfort her, I might finally make progress. This guy was truly something else. Willow's fingers tightened around the bouquet, crushing the white rose petals out of shape. The bullet comments read, Willow's inner thoughts, he doesn't want me anymore. He really doesn't want me anymore. I wore a wedding dress. I booked Hill Manor. I did everything for him. Why doesn't he want me? Tear ducts about to collapse. Countdown, 10 seconds. I took a deep breath. Willow, listen carefully. Her eyes were red, but she bit her lip, refusing to let the tears fall. 5 years ago, we broke up because your relationship with Makoto was something I couldn't accept. You can say you weren't with him, but you never rejected him either. You enjoyed his attention while looking down on me for being poor. You thought that was your right to me. That's called disrespect. I didn't. Let me finish. She fell silent. I left for 5 years. In those 5 years, I met Anna, got married, and had 2 children. That's my life now. I'm doing well. I don't regret breaking up with you, and I don't hate you, but I will never get back together with you. This is the last time. The church was left with nothing but the sound of birds chirping outside the stained glass windows. Willow's first tear finally fell. The bullet comments read. She finally realized it wasn't you waiting for her, it was her waiting for someone who would never come back. But her pride won't allow her to cry in front of that woman. She suddenly took a sharp breath, raised her hand, and slammed the bouquet hard onto the ground. White roses scattered everywhere. George, you will regret this. She lifted her skirt and walked past me. The hem of her wedding dress brushed against my pant leg, stirring a gust of wind. The side door of the church was pushed open and then shut again. Makoto hesitated for a second before chasing after her. The bullet comments floated behind him. Makoto's thoughts, she cried. Perfect opportunity. I'll go comfort her. Maybe I can move things to the next level tonight. The bidding results for South City's redevelopment project come out next Monday. I need to win Willow over before that. I stood on the red carpet, looking at the white roses scattered across the floor. Anna walked over to me. Without saying anything, she reached out and held my hand. The bullet comments above Anna read. When he said those words just now, his voice was trembling. He says he doesn't hate her, but that past hurt him more deeply than he shows. She didn't question me, didn't get jealous, she simply held my hand quietly. Let's go, she said. Let's go home. Emma said she wants to eat the tomato scrambled eggs you made today. I smiled. She wants to eat my tomato scrambled eggs every day. Then you'll have to cook it every day. I tightened my grip on her hand. All right. Chapter 12. Back home. I was cracking eggs in the kitchen. The tomatoes were cut into small chunks, neatly lined up on the cutting board, their red juice seeping out and staining my hands. Emma stood on a little stool by the counter, leaning forward, staring at me without blinking. Daddy, why do you cook the eggs first? Because eggs need to stay tender. What does tender mean? It means soft, melts in your mouth. Oh, she thought for a moment. Then am I tender too? I went silent for a second. You're a kid, not a dish. But mommy says I'm a little cabbage. The bullet comments read. Emma's inner thoughts. Daddy looks the most handsome when he cooks. Even more handsome than the celebrities on TV. But not as pretty as mommy. That warmed my heart a little. Jack sat at the dining table with a set of character cards in front of him. He looked up at me. The bullet comments above his head read. Dad came home earlier than usual today. There's something on his face, like he got into a fight and didn't win. 3.5 years old, and his perception was terrifyingly sharp. Just as the tomato and egg stir-fry was ready, Anna came out of the bedroom. She had changed into home clothes, her hair tied into a low ponytail. Leaning against the kitchen doorway, she said, "Your mom called just now." What did she say? She said people in South City are spreading rumors that you and Willow are getting married. My hand paused, the spatula almost slipped into the pan. What? Anna said. Your mom's exact words were, I was at the market buying groceries, and Mrs. Lee asked me if you're going to marry that Lou girl. Said Hill Manor's already booked. The bullet comments above Anna's head read. Mother-in-law's tone was calm, but with rage underneath. The kind of calm before a storm. Crap. My mom. A retired high school math teacher. Logical, formidable, and sharp-tongued enough to bargain a fish vendor down by 2 yuan on the spot. She knew about my breakup with Willow 5 years ago, and her opinion of Willow had always been, that girl aims too high for her ability. She's not worthy of you. Now rumors were spreading that I was marrying Willow. I could already picture my mom standing in the middle of the market, holding a plastic bag full of vegetables, with that expression on her face. My phone rang. Caller ID. Mom. I took a deep breath and answered. Mom. George. Her voice was calm as still water. The bullet comments read, rage level, 99%. Calm facade, 100%. Explain to me, she said, what this Hill Manor situation is. Mom. That was all Willow. It has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you. They're saying you're the groom. I went there. I made it clear to her, I'm already married. You went. Her voice suddenly rose half a pitch. The bullet comments read, Mom's inner thoughts, he actually went. That brat. His ex calls him and he just goes. Does his wife even matter? Wait, does Anna know about this? Mom. Anna went with me. There was a 3-second silence on the other end. Anna went too. Yeah, we went together. I went to make things clear. Mom, don't worry. I'm not worried. Her tone softened slightly. The bullet comments dropped from rage level 99% to 68%. But you settle this completely, she said. Don't let your wife feel wronged. And don't let that Lou girl come bothering you again. I understand. And one more thing, she added after a pause. That Mrs. Lee at the market, I'll clear things up with her tomorrow. The bullet comments read, Mom's plan, go to the market tomorrow. Bring a family photo, physically shut Mrs. Lee up. Maybe enlarge a photo of Emma and Jack and stick it on the fridge. No, not visible enough, post it online. My mom's combat power had always been top tier. Chapter 13. After hanging up, I leaned against the stove and took a breath. Anna walked over and carried away the plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes. She asked, what did your mom say? I replied, she told me to handle it. She paused for a moment. I don't think this is something Willow could stir up on her own. What do you mean? She said. A venue at the level of Hill Manor requires at least $200,000 as a deposit. Could she really make that decision alone? I looked at her. Her expression, however, was calm. I narrowed my eyes and asked, "You're saying the Liu family knows about this?" Anna nodded. At least her mother does. The bullet comments read. Anna's reasoning. A woman books a wedding venue worth $500,000 on her own, yet hasn't even confirmed the groom. That doesn't look like impulsiveness, it looks like planning. Someone is pushing her to do all this from behind the scenes. The most likely possibility is her family. The motive is unclear, but it must be tied to profit. My wife comes from a science and engineering background. She approaches things through cause and effect, and relies on logic, and her line of reasoning reminded me of Makoto's bullet comment. The base price for South City's old district redevelopment will be released next Monday. South City redevelopment. The Liu family is in real estate. If the Liu family currently needs some kind of external force to secure that redevelopment land. I started connecting the dots in my head. Willow's forced marriage push, Makoto's 4 years of persistent devotion, the South City redevelopment land, and the project segment I quietly secured after returning to the country 3 months ago. A segment I haven't told anyone about yet. Interesting. Anna, what is it? I said thoughtfully. You're right. This isn't that simple. She glanced at me but didn't ask further. Let's eat. The food's getting cold. All right. Emma was already impatiently poking at the eggs with her spoon. Jack glanced at the tomato scrambled eggs, and the bullet comments read, "It should taste the same as last time. Dad's cooking is very consistent, like a robot." Son, are you complimenting me or insulting me? The next day, I had my assistant investigate 2 things. First, which companies are currently bidding on the South City redevelopment project. Second, the flow of funds in Makoto's company over the past 6 months. At 4 in the afternoon, my assistant placed a stack of documents on my desk. The South City redevelopment project has a total investment of $3.2 billion, divided into 4 segments. Among the companies participating in the bidding, the top 3 are Liu Real Estate, Baitian Properties under Makoto, and Orange Capital, registered after I returned to the country, under my cousin's name. That's right, Orange Capital is mine. 5 years ago, when I went abroad, I had nothing. But during those years in Vancouver, thanks to my ability to see bullet comments, I almost never lost in business negotiations. The other party's bottom line, what they were thinking, their true intentions. The bullet comments spelled everything out clearly. In 3 years, I turned a small trading company into one with an annual revenue of $200 million. After returning to the country, I didn't make a big show of it, partly because of my personality, and partly because I wanted to see what kind of faces those people who once looked down on me would make now. When my assistant laid out Makoto's fund flow in front of me, my brows furrowed. Baitian Properties has a registered capital of $50 million, but the actual paid-in capital is only $8 million. The remaining $42 million came from affiliated companies of Liu Real Estate. In other words, Makoto's qualification to bid was given by the Liu family, and Makoto's 4 years of chasing Willow Liu was to secure this funding and the Liu family's industry resources. The bullet comments had already told me all this, but seeing the numbers on paper still felt ironic. Willow thought Makoto was sincerely pursuing her. The Liu family thought Makoto was a good candidate for a son-in-law. Only Makoto himself knew. What he wanted wasn't love, it was money. Chapter 14. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes for a moment. My phone rang. It was Willow. George. Her voice was different from yesterday in the church. The arrogance was gone, replaced with something more. The bullet comments read, "Willow cried all night. Her voice is hoarse. She doesn't actually want to make this call, but her mother told her to try one more time." "What is it?" she said. "My mom wants to invite you to dinner." The bullet comments read, Willow's thoughts. My mom said George is doing business now. Maybe there's a chance to cooperate on the redevelopment project. She doesn't know how much money George really has, but since he managed to stay abroad for 5 years, he must have some foundation. So, just as Anna predicted, the Liu family had their eyes on me, not as a son-in-law, but as a business partner, and Willow had been pushed forward by her own mother, used as a tool. I asked, "When?" "Tomorrow night. You pick the place. Swan Hotel, 7 o'clock. "All right, but I have one condition." "What?" "My wife comes with me." There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. The bullet comments read, Willow's thoughts. That woman again. "Fine. Let her come. Let her see what the Liu family's presence looks like." "Okay," she said. After hanging up, I sent Anna a message. "Dinner with the Liu family tomorrow night. Swan Hotel. You coming?" She replied instantly, "I'm going. Might as well get a good look at them, so I won't fail to recognize them if I run into them at the market later." I chuckled. Then I made another call. David, help me check the audit report for the 3rd segment of the South City redevelopment project, especially the underground pipeline section. What's going on? Someone's bidding with borrowed money. I want to know if he actually has the capacity to take it on. Give me 2 days. Thanks. I hung up. Outside the window, the setting sun painted the sky orange-red. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Willow, you don't realize what the two people closest to you, your mother and Makoto, are really thinking. Your mother treats you as a social tool. Makoto treats you as a stepping stone, and yet you think you're the most clear-headed person in the room. 5 years ago, when I left, I didn't look back. But 5 years later, if anyone wants to put on a show in front of me, then sorry. I can see every single bullet comment in the room. Chapter 15, Swan Hotel, top floor private room. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows lay the glittering lights of South City. Anna and I arrived 10 minutes early. Today, she wore a dark green silk blouse paired with black trousers. Her hair was tied up, revealing her slender neck. On her earlobes were the jade earrings I gave her last year, understated. But anyone with knowledge could tell they weren't cheap. The bullet comments read, Anna's thoughts, I must not look shabby today. Not to compete with that woman, but for George's sake. I squeezed her hand. Don't be nervous. I'm not nervous. The bullet comments read, heart rate, 85 beats per minute. Slightly above normal, I said. Not nervous at all. She shot me a glare. At exactly 7, the private room door opened. Willow walked in first, followed by a woman in her 50s, her mother, Patricia. Patricia was well-maintained, dressed in a Chanel suit, her hair styled in large curls, a jade bracelet on her wrist. She walked with an imposing presence. Bullet comments flooded above her head. Patricia's thoughts, so this is George. Haven't seen him in 5 years. He does look more put together. Booking such a high-end room. He's got some foundation. I'll need to test how much he's really worth later. No rush on the redevelopment project. Build rapport first. Patricia's first impression of Anna, average. Not as pretty as Willow, but her temperament is decent. Doesn't look like she's from a poor family. Anyway, not the focus. Patricia's attitude toward Willow, my daughter is a good chess piece, but she's been played too slowly. Back then, she should have secured George. Wouldn't be this passive now. I sneered inwardly. A good chess piece. Her own daughter, reduced to a piece in her eyes. George. Patricia walked over with a bright smile. So enthusiastic she was just short of grabbing my hand and calling me son. 5 years no see. You've really made something of yourself, booking such a big room. You're too kind. I smiled politely. Hello, Auntie. This is your wife. She turned to Anna, her gaze lingering on her for half a second. The bullet comments above Patricia read, look at the earrings, jade, good quality, at least 200,000. Interesting. Hello, Auntie. I'm Anna. Anna smiled and nodded. Good, very good. Patricia pulled her to sit down. The bullet comments read, stabilize her first. Don't let her feel targeted. The focus is George. Willow sat beside Patricia. Today she wore light makeup and a black dress. Unusually quiet. The bullet comments read, Willow's thoughts, Mom told me not to make a scene today. Said business matters are more important. What business? Isn't it just using George? Ridiculous. I'm a dignified daughter of the Liu family, and I have to rely on an ex-boyfriend. Yet every few seconds, her gaze drifts toward George, then quickly pulls away. The dishes arrived. A standard high-end business banquet, abalone, lobster, matsutake soup, the full display. Patricia began probing. George, I heard you were doing trade overseas. Started with trade, later shifted into investment. Investment. Her eyes lit up. The bullet comments read, here it comes, the real topic. She asked, so what do you think of the domestic market, right now? South City's real estate industry. Auntie, I set down my chopsticks. Are you asking about the South City redevelopment? Her smile stiffened for a second. The bullet comments above Patricia read, this kid is so direct. Damn, my whole setup just went to waste. She asked, you already know. I took a sip of tea. South City redevelopment has 4 segments. Liu Real Estate is currently bidding on the second and third. For the third segment, there's a competitor called Baitian Properties, Makoto's company. Patricia's expression changed. How do you know that? I'm in investment, I said calmly. I have my sources. Chapter 16. The bullet comments exploded above her head. He even knows the name of Makoto's company. He's been abroad for 5 years and back for only 3 months. How does he know South City's business circle so well? What exactly is his background? Willow also lifted her head. Her expression complicated. The bullet comments read, Willow's thoughts, he's changed so much. Back then, he couldn't even keep track of grocery prices at the market. Now he's talking about project segments and bidding. What exactly has he gone through these past 5 years? Auntie, I set down my teacup and said, let me add one more thing. Makoto's Baitian Properties has a registered capital of 50 million, but only 8 million is actually in place. The shortfall comes from affiliated companies of Liu Real Estate. The moment those words landed, the temperature in the room seemed to drop 5 degrees. Patricia's fingers tightened around her chopsticks. The bullet comments read, Patricia's thoughts, how does he know this? This is internal, only I, old Liu, and finance know. Did he investigate us? Willow's face turned pale. What do you mean? Her voice tightened. What do you mean the shortfall comes from Lou's affiliated companies? Patricia quickly cut in. Willow, we're eating. These business matters can wait. Mom. Willow turned to her. Makoto's company is using our family's money. The bullet comments above Willow read. More than 40 million. Mom gave Makoto more than 40 million. When did that happen? Why didn't she tell me? Patricia's composure finally cracked. Willow, this is an investment. She lowered her voice. Makoto's company has advantages in the redevelopment project. We're taking a stake. There will be dividends later. Investment. Willow's voice rose. Under what name? Under the pretense of me marrying him. No, Mom. Willow slammed her hand on the table, making the dishes jump. She shouted sharply. You were pushing me to marry George while investing more than 40 million into Makoto. Which side are you even on? The bullet comments read. Patricia's thoughts. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Why is this girl turning on me in front of outsiders? I was laying out both options. If George doesn't work out, Makoto is the backup. What's wrong with that? I leaned back in my chair, silent. Anna quietly sipped her soup. The bullet comments above her read. Good grief, a mother using her own daughter as a bargaining chip on both sides. This family is even more outrageous than I thought. Willow's eyes reddened, but this time it wasn't because of me. She looked at her mother as if seeing her for the first time. You asked me to come to this dinner tonight, not to help me win George back, she said slowly, word by word, but to talk business. Patricia said nothing. The bullet comments read. Patricia knew she had been seen through, but she didn't think she was wrong. In her worldview, marriage was always an exchange of interests. Her daughter's feelings were merely part of the bargaining chips. Willow stood up. Her chair scraped harshly against the floor. I'm leaving. Willow. Don't call me. She grabbed her bag and turned to leave. At the door, she paused. She didn't turn back, but the bullet comments drifted slowly across. George was right. 5 years ago, he left. 5 years later, I finally realize there isn't a single person by my side who truly cares about me. Not my mom, not Makoto, only him, and he's gone too. Chapter 17. The door closed. Only Anna, Patricia, and I were left in the private room. Patricia's face looked terrible. She glanced at the tightly shut door, then at me. Her lips moved several times before she finally forced out a sentence. George, about the redevelopment. Auntie, I cut her off. Dinner is on me tonight. But as for the redevelopment, I suggest you first straighten out Makoto's accounts. What do you mean? Makoto's Baitian property suffered an actual loss of 16 million 3 months ago due to an overseas investment project. He never reported this loss to you. Patricia's face instantly turned pale. She was stunned. 16 million. You can have your finance team verify this when you get back, I said. Then I stood up and pulled out Anna's chair. We'll take our leave. Anna stood and nodded politely at Patricia. Goodbye, Auntie. When we walked out of the hotel, the night air was cool. Anna held onto my arm and stayed silent for a long time. The data you mentioned just now, the 16 million loss, is that real? David found it this afternoon. Why did you tell her? I looked at the neon lights in the distance and thought for a moment. Because Willow may not be very clear-headed, but she doesn't deserve to be screwed over by her own mother and a con artist working together. Anna didn't say anything, but the bullet comments slowly drifted across. He's still soft toward his ex, but that softness isn't love, it's basic decency from one person toward another who's being kept in the dark. I can accept that. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You're a good person. George, I'm not a good person. I've just seen too many bullet comments. I can't stand people pretending. She laughed softly and asked, what bullet comments? Nothing. Let's go home. Over the next 3 days, things moved faster than I expected. After returning, Patricia had her finance team audit Baitian properties overnight. The 16 million loss checked out exactly. Early the next morning, a fierce conflict broke out between the Liu family and Makoto. I heard all this from Dominic. Man, you wouldn't believe it. Willow's mom stormed straight into Makoto's office and slammed the table, yelling at him for half an hour. And then Makoto admitted the loss, but said it was a strategic loss, that it would pay off in the long run. Patricia didn't buy it and demanded to see the investment contracts. And then I picked up where he left off. The contracts had issues. How did you know? Just a guess. Even though I couldn't see bullet comments through someone else's retelling, the direction of events wasn't hard to predict. Makoto's cards had already been revealed to me through the bullet comments. His real goal was to use the Liu family's money to pull off a classic empty-handed scheme. The 16 million loss was only superficial. In reality, the money had been funneled into an offshore shell company he controlled. David had traced it all clearly for me, but I didn't hand this information directly to the Liu family. I only pointed them in the right direction. They had to uncover the rest themselves to truly believe it. Man, Dominic lowered his voice. That move of yours really screwed Makoto over, but you should be careful. That guy always looks all smiles on the surface. Who knows what he's plotting behind the scenes? The bullet comments read. Dominic's inner thoughts. Did George do something I don't know about? How does he know so much about the Liu family's internal situation? What has he been doing in these 3 months since coming back? Don't worry, I said. How can I not worry? I replied. You still owe me 10 barbecue meals. Dominic went speechless. Can you stop thinking about barbecue all the time? Chapter 18. I hung up the phone. At 3 in the afternoon, I was reviewing documents in my office when my assistant knocked and came in. President Wong, there's a Mr. Ito outside asking to see you. No appointment. Makoto Ito. So he came. Let him in. The door opened, and Makoto walked in. He wasn't wearing a suit today, just a gray casual jacket, but he didn't look well. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his lips were slightly chapped. Bullet comments scrolled above his head. Calm down. Calm down. Patricia is already investigating. I don't have much time. Coming to George is my last chance. If I can pull him in and use his funds to cover the gap, I can smooth things over with the Liu family. If it comes to it, I'll even kneel. Makoto's true assessment of George, the parentheses have been updated. This man is not simple. He managed to trace my cash flow within 3 days. He must have a powerful information network behind him. He's far wealthier, and far more ruthless, than I thought. I leaned back in my chair and looked at him. Sit. He sat down. His hands were clasped on his knees, fingers trembling slightly, something I might not have noticed without the bullet comments. George. His voice tried to stay steady. Let's talk openly. Go ahead. South City redevelopment. Third segment, you're bidding too, right? I didn't deny it. His brow twitched. The bullet comments above Makoto read. So he is bidding. Orange Capital is his. I didn't find out earlier, it's registered under someone else's name. This guy hides things too well, he said. If we cooperate. Leaning forward, you provide the capital. I provide the industry connections. We take down the third segment together. Profit split. 60-40, you take 60. The bullet comments read. Makoto's real plan, agree to 60-40 first. Then find a way to alter the contract terms once we're inside. He brings the money. I bring the operations. And in the end, I take the real profit. Same trick I used on the Liu family. I looked at his bullet comments, the corner of my mouth twitching slightly. Even at this point, he was still thinking about scheming against others. Makoto. Yes. Do you know why I exposed your situation to Patricia at the dinner? His expression froze. The bullet comments read. Makoto's inner thoughts. He did it on purpose. Those things he said at dinner. He deliberately sabotaged my relationship with the Liu family. Why? He's already broken up with Willow. So why does he still care? I spoke slowly. It wasn't for Willow, and it wasn't to compete with you for the project. Then why? I said, because you're fake. His face changed. I shrugged. You chased Willow for 4 years. She thought you were sincere. Her mother thought you were a reliable business partner, but you're neither. What do you mean? I let out a cold laugh. You funneled Liu family money into your own shell company. You inflated project budgets in the redevelopment bid. You kept Willow hanging for 4 years without even holding her hand, because you thought she was too much trouble. Chapter 19. With every sentence I spoke, Makoto's face grew paler. Makoto's inner thoughts. How does he know all this? The shell company, the inflated project budget, even what I really think about Willow. How does he know everything? Is he monitoring me? No, impossible. Then how is he doing this? George. He shot to his feet, kicking his chair back. Have you been investigating me? No need to investigate. I looked at the dense stream of bullet comments above his head. People like you can't hide anything. It's all written on your face. His breathing quickened. Makoto's inner thoughts. Stay calm. He's bluffing. There's no way he has all the evidence. The shell company. Only I and my overseas lawyer know. He's trying to bait me. Yes, he's bluffing. I can't panic. He forced himself to calm down and sat back in his chair. George. Everything you just said, do you have proof? You want to find out? Silence. The bullet comments read. Makoto's inner thoughts are in violent conflict. The urge to run and the gambler's instinct are battling for control. In the end, fear wins. He stood up. Let's end this conversation here. All right. He turned and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he paused, then looked back. George, you won't win. I have connections in the evaluation process for the third redevelopment segment. The bullet comments. He's bluffing. His connections are already wavering because of the fallout with the Liu family. He knows he can't hold on much longer, but he refuses to admit it. Take care, I said. The door closed. I sat there for a while, then picked up my phone and called David. David, I want the full trace report on Baidian Properties offshore shell company funds in my inbox before the end of the day. It's already in progress. One more thing. Go ahead. Set up a meeting with the chief engineering auditor for the redevelopment project. Tell them Orange Capital wants to conduct due diligence. Got it. After hanging up, I opened the window to let in some air. The sun was setting, leaving a streak of gold and red across the horizon. My phone buzzed. Anna sent me a photo. Emma and Jack were in the living room. Emma was holding up a drawing, a chubby tiger wearing a tie, with a few crooked words written beside it. Dad wins. I stared at those words for a long time. My nose stung a little. I replied, Dad will definitely win. I'll make barbecue tonight. Emma sent a voice message immediately. Yay. Jack didn't say anything, but Anna followed up with a text. Jack heard barbecue and his lips twitched. Translation: he's very happy. I laughed. This is my life. Not some dramatic rise of a destined king. Not some grand feud between powerful families. Just an ordinary man who can see bullet comments, living a quiet life with his wife and children. As for Willow and Makoto, what's coming can't be stopped. Chapter 20. The evaluation meeting for the third segment of the South City redevelopment project began promptly at 2 p.m. on Monday. Location: conference room, 7th floor, South City Planning Bureau. 3 companies participated in the evaluation: Lou Real Estate, Bytian Properties, and Orange Capital, each sending representatives. I walked into the conference room alone, dressed in a dark gray suit. David sat beside me, and 3 bound bidding documents were placed on the table. The representative from Lou Real Estate was one of the Lou family's vice presidents, in his 50s, balding. The bullet comments above him read: Vice President's inner thoughts. The boss said we must secure the third segment today no matter what. But our quoted budget is too high. I don't feel confident. Ever since the issue with Makoto, our cash flow has been tightening. The representative from Bytian Properties was Makoto himself. He sat across from me, dressed sharply in a suit, his hair meticulously styled, but the color of his lips was off, pale. The bullet comments read: Makoto's inner thoughts. This is a gamble. If I don't secure the segment today and can't recover Lou family funds, my company won't last the month. How much does George really know about what he said last time? Doesn't matter. Stay steady. Stay steady. The evaluation began. Each company presented their proposal in turn. Lou Real Estate's proposal was standard, nothing impressive, but no major flaws either. Bytian Properties' proposal was presented personally by Makoto. His speaking skills were indeed strong. Even the bullet comments acknowledged that. Clear logic, solid data, and well-crafted slides. But bullet comments simultaneously appeared above several members of the evaluation panel. Bytion's proposal looks polished, but the cost estimation for the underground pipeline is clearly underestimated. With that workload, their quoted price won't cover it. They're playing a low-price bidding trick. Bytian Properties meets the qualification requirements, but I've heard their recent cooperation with Lou Real Estate ran into issues. Could there be risks in their cash flow? Among the 3, Orange Capital looks the most promising so far, but we still need to see the actual substance of their proposal. It was my turn. I stood up and turned on the projector. My proposal had no flashy elements. It was all solid engineering calculations, cost analysis, and risk assessments. The underground pipeline costs were broken down to the material and installation method of every single pipe. The construction timeline was detailed down to each phase and milestone. Because David had an engineering background, the proposal he helped me prepare ensured every number could withstand scrutiny. After the presentation, the evaluation panel's bullet comments were almost completely one-sided. This is what a professional proposal looks like. Compared to the other 2, it's on a different level. Orange Capital's financial strength is sufficient as well. Registered capital of $120 million. Fully paid in. No issues. Basically decided. Just need to go through the formalities. Makoto's expression grew increasingly grim. Makoto's inner thoughts: it's over. His proposal crushed mine. I can tell from their expressions, they're already leaning toward Orange Capital. My low-price strategy is useless. He laid out the real costs, making my quote look like a joke. Chapter 21. After the evaluation ended, representatives from the 3 companies waited in the hallway for the results. Makoto stood by the window in the corridor, his back facing me. Bullet comments drifted slowly across. Makoto's inner thoughts: if I don't get this segment, my company will go bankrupt within a month. I won't be able to repay the Lou family. The offshore shell company will be exposed sooner or later. I'll go from a successful young entrepreneur to a fraud. It's all over. When did everything start falling apart? When George came back. When he started digging into me. That night at Willow's apartment. No. Even earlier. The moment I decided to use Willow to get close to the Lou family. I knew this path would end eventually, but I thought I could make enough money to run before the end came. I watched his bullet comments in silence. He turned around and looked at me. George, you know. He forced a smile, though it looked worse than crying. I've always envied you. 5 years ago, you had nothing. $7,000 a month, living in a rented apartment. But Willow was willing to be with you. She complained about you being poor, but back then, you were the only one in her eyes. I chased her for 4 years. Flowers, gifts, staying late with her at work, accompanying her to social events. Do you know what she said to me the most? I didn't answer. He sighed. She said, Makoto, if only George could treat me the way you do. The bullet comments read. True. Willow did say this, more than once. Makoto spread his hands. What she meant was, she wanted George to treat her the way I treated her. She never saw me as your replacement, not even as a candidate. I was just a mirror she used to reflect you. His smile turned bitter. 4 years. I chased her for 4 years. At first, it was for the Lou family's resources. But later, the bullet comments read, later, There was a moment, just one brief moment, when he actually felt something, but it was so fleeting that even he isn't sure it was real. And everything he's done, misappropriating funds, inflating budgets, shell companies, has already stripped him of the right to talk about sincerity. He didn't finish that sentence. Footsteps came from the other end of the corridor. The results were out. South City redevelopment. Third segment. Winning bidder, Orange Capital. Makoto looked at the announcement board. His body swayed slightly. The bullet comments read, "It's over." He turned and walked away. His footsteps echoed down the empty corridor, growing more distant. When I stepped out of the planning bureau building, the sunlight made me squint. My phone rang. It was Willow. "Hello, George." Her voice was soft, as if she had just been crying. "I heard about it, the redevelopment. Makoto, did he really deceive our family?" I replied. "Ask your mother. She should have verified everything by now." There was silence on the other end for several seconds. The bullet comments read, "Willow's inner thoughts. Mom finished investigating Makoto this morning. The shell company. Inflated budgets. Misappropriated funds. It's all confirmed. Out of 42 million. Less than 10 million can be recovered." Mom was so furious she smashed a vase in the study. "Makoto's phone is unreachable now. He's disappeared." I asked. "He ran." The bullet comments had already told me, but I needed confirmation from her. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Phone's off. Company dissolved. He's nowhere to be found." I asked, "How do you feel?" Chapter 22. Willow was silent for a long time before saying, "I don't know." The bullet comments read, "Willow's real feelings. No heartbreak. She was never truly attracted to Makoto, but there's a sense of humiliation, being used for 4 years by someone she never respected. Being used feels worse than being rejected." "George, what is it?" She said, "Thank you." The bullet comments, "She means it. This is the first time in 5 years she has said thank you to George." "No need." She said, "I know I did a lot of stupid things." The bullet comments read, "This is also true. It's the first time she's admitted she did something stupid." She said, "Forcing you to marry me, making a scene in front of your wife. Thinking about it now, I feel like I was out of my mind." She let out a self-mocking laugh and continued, "But I don't know what to do. It's been 5 years. I don't know how to let go." The bullet comments drifted slowly. Willow's deepest inner thoughts. It's not that she can't let go of George. It's that she can't let go of her 23-year-old self, the version of her who was adored by George and believed the whole world revolved around her. What she misses isn't this man, but that time when she was loved. But that time is gone. She knows it. I stood on the steps outside the planning bureau, looking at the clouds in the distance. "Willow, yeah. You don't need to let go of me. You need to let go of yourself." There was a long silence on the other end. Then she sniffed and said, "The way you talk now, it's really different from before." I replied, "People change. You will too." She went quiet again for a few seconds. "George, yeah. Your wife, she's a good person." The bullet comments, "True." And when she said this, her jealousy dropped to single digits for the first time. I know. I let out a small laugh. I got lucky. You got lucky. Goodbye. Willow, goodbye. The call ended. I put my phone away and took a deep breath. The wind blew in from the east, carrying the coolness of early spring. The bullet comments faded. Hers, Makoto's, gone. All that remained was the clean wind and the distant outline of the city. Chapter 23. 1 month later. Weekend. Spring had arrived in South City. The cherry blossoms in the residential complex were in full bloom. When the wind blew, petals fell to the ground like a layer of pink snow. Emma was chasing butterflies on the lawn. She wore a red little dress, her short legs running fast. When the butterfly flew higher, she jumped to reach it. When she couldn't, she crouched down to wait. When it landed, she pounced, only for it to fly away again. She didn't feel frustrated at all. Every miss made her giggle. The bullet comments above Emma read, "The butterflies are so cute. I'm going to catch one and give it to Mom. Wait, there's another one over there. 2, 3, I want them all." Jack sat on a bench, holding a copy of 100,000 Whys. His feet couldn't reach the ground and swung back and forth in the air. The bullet comments read, "Sister is wasting energy. Butterfly flight paths are random. Her strategy is completely wrong, but it does look kind of fun. Should I go?" "No, I haven't finished my book." I leaned against the bench, one arm resting on the back, watching all of this. Anna sat beside me, holding a cup of coffee. "The weather is nice today," she said. You've been in a good mood lately too." She asked. "Things going smoothly with the redevelopment project?" I nodded. "Smoothly. The third segment has already begun preliminary surveying." "What about Makoto?" "He ran. Heard he went to Southeast Asia." The Liu family filed a report, but it's hard to say how much they'll recover. "What about Willow?" I thought for a moment before replying. "Dominic told me last week she quit her position at Liu Real Estate and started her own business, interior design." Even though I couldn't see the bullet comments directly, when Dominic relayed it, his own bullet comments read, "What Dominic knows, on the day Willow resigned, she had a huge argument with her mother. She said, I don't want to be your chess piece anymore. Patricia was so angry she didn't speak to her for 3 days. But after 3 days, Patricia transferred her $500,000 as startup capital. Note, her methods are wrong, but Patricia does love her daughter. She just doesn't know how to express it. I said, she'll be fine. Anna glanced at me and thought, when he said that, his tone was completely calm. No lingering feelings, no attachment, just a bystander's goodwill. He's really moved on. She took a sip of coffee. George, yeah, she said, about that bullet comments thing. My body stiffened slightly. What do you mean? She turned to look at me, her eyes carrying a faint, probing smile. You think I can't tell every time you predict things like you already know what's going to happen? My throat tightened. She continued. You've never made a wrong judgment in business. You understand people's intentions with absurd precision. At the dinner table, you always say exactly what others want to hear. The first time you met Makoto, you already knew what kind of person he was. She listed them one by one, like she was writing a literature review for a final paper. Either you're unbelievably lucky, or you have some kind of ability I don't know about. The bullet comments read. Anna's inner thoughts. I don't know what it is, but there has to be something. We've been together for 4 years. He can't hide it from me forever. Still, if he doesn't want to say it, I won't force him. I looked at the bullet comments above her head and stayed silent for a few seconds. Then I smiled. If I told you I can see floating bullet comments above people's heads, showing their real thoughts, would you believe me? Her expression didn't change. The bullet comments read. Anna's inner thoughts. Absurd, but he doesn't look like he's joking. And it does explain everything that didn't make sense over the past 4 years. If it's true, then that means he can see my thoughts too. The tips of her ears suddenly turned red. She asked, you can see my inner thoughts? Right now. Right now. Her face flushed instantly, starting from her ears, spreading to her cheeks, all the way down her neck. Chapter 24. Anna's bullet comments read. I'm doomed. Then all those things I thought before. He looks so handsome in a suit. He looks good when he cooks, when he holds the kids. I want another 1 inch. He saw all of that. All of it. I almost burst out laughing. Anna, shut up. Shut up. She grabbed Emma's jacket from the side and covered her face with it. The bullet comments kept scrolling under the jacket. I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. 4 years. 4 years of bullet comments. God, did I ever think something like, when I come out of the shower and my towel slips, won't it drive him crazy? I did. I definitely did. It's over. Social death. I can't live anymore. I couldn't hold it in. I laughed. She snapped. Laugh again and I'll divorce you. Would you really? The bullet comments read. Of course I wouldn't. But shut up. I took Emma's jacket from her hands and held her hand instead. Anna. What? She refused to look at me. Her ears red as if they might drip blood. I said. Every single bullet comment above your head is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. She finally turned to look at me. Her eyes were slightly wet, her lips trying to press down a smile, but failing. The bullet comments read. This man, every time he speaks, I surrender. 4 years now. Every single time. I lowered my head and kissed her on the forehead. Thank you. For what? For every bullet comment above your head being about me. She finally broke and laughed, punching my shoulder. So cheesy. The bullet comments read. But I'm so happy. Emma ran over, holding a cherry blossom she picked up from the ground. Mom. Flower. Anna took the flower and tucked it behind Emma's ear. So pretty. Emma spun around. What about Dad? Is Dad pretty? Dad doesn't need flowers. He's already handsome. Emma's bullet comments read. That's not right. Dad isn't as pretty as Mom, but Dad smells better. He smells like tomato scrambled eggs. Jack finally closed his book, jumped off the bench, and walked over to me. He looked up at me. His bullet comments read. Dad is very happy today. Happier than yesterday. Happier than the day before. It feels like he let go of something. I don't know what it is, but when he smiles, I want to smile too, even though I don't want to admit it. He reached out and tugged at my sleeve. Dad, yeah. Carry me. I froze for a second. 3.5-year-old Jack had always been the type to just call me Dad and leave it at that, never acting spoiled. This was the first time he asked to be held. I bent down and picked him up. His small arms wrapped around my neck, his face resting against my shoulder, his soft hair brushed against my chin. Jack's bullet comments read. Dad's shoulders really are broad, like a small mountain. Safe. Holding him. I looked at the cherry blossom trees in the distance, at Emma running across the lawn, at Anna smiling at me with her coffee in hand. Bullet comments floated above everyone's heads. My daughter's innocence. My son's quiet warmth. My wife's love. These bullet comments didn't need interpretation, didn't need caution, didn't need guessing. They were just there, clear, real, warm, like sunlight falling gently on your skin. I took a deep breath. The spring air carried the scent of cherry blossoms, mixed with the earthy smell of the grass. Let's go, I said to Anna. Home. To do what? Barbecue. Emma screamed in the distance. Yay. In my arms, Jack's shoulders trembled slightly. The bullet comments read, "He's smiling." I smiled too. This is my story. A man who can see bullet comments, who spent 5 years walking out of his past, 3 months resolving entanglements, and a lifetime guarding the one person who doesn't need bullet comments above her head, because everything is already written on her face. Even without the bullet comments, I know